Our lesson today is the vantage point. Now, this can be the bird's eye view, the middle view, or the low vantage point. Now, we're going to begin with the bird's view, which is high, and the horizon line is way up here. Now, this is the vanishing point, and this is the vanishing point. The horizon is actually about 1/4 of the way down from the top of the paper. To show you how this works, I've made 3 little small thumbnails. This is a bird's view with the high vantage point, the middle vantage point, and it's horizontal in its format. And this one is a low format. Now we have the choice of horizontal or vertical format. We also have the choice of the high, middle, or low. And of course, there are some that like to do a horizon line way down on the baseline, but this is not very acceptable, really. It's better to bring it up and make the low vantage point a little higher. Again, about 1/4 of the way up. Now, the low vantage point is not the easiest one to work from. And because we have not explored the possibilities of the vertical high vantage point, I've chosen to do the middle view of the horizontal viewpoint. And this is the easiest and best way to start. To begin with, we draw the horizon line. And I'm going to increase the value of this line so that you will be able to see it very clearly. I'm using a double E pencil, which has a very dark lead, and as it comes in, you'll see very clearly where that line should be. One of the fun things to do is to set in your mountains in overlapping shapes. And I'm needing to turn this light just a little bit. There, I think that's better. The overlapping shapes of the mountain follow actually the erosion lines, and they come in from both sides. And when we do this rendering in a wash, this will be a light wash in here, and this will be light on the edge and moving to dark in the crevice area, lighter up here and darker in the crevice. And then along the water line will be the dark trees. They usually flow with the water right in behind the houses, which will be nestled at the foot of the erosion area. And these little houses all have a similar look to them, and they are defined with the lost and found edge of the trees behind them. Now these little houses are that size because they're far away on the distant shore. They will reflect into the water, and I'm kind of dwelling on this for a moment because I want you to see there is something called a mirror image, which is a reflection that is exactly the object, only upside down. And in order to define that mirror image, you will want to shade the space behind it. Again, it's lost and found edge. And the trees will be darker, and they also reflect down into the water. Now this becomes a beautiful design. And with watercolor, every part of the painting should be in itself a painting. Even every square inch should have something beautiful to look at. Watercolor is a beautiful media. And remember, we're using light and dark, warm and cool, and in this case, it's still just in pencil form, so it is light and dark. We will introduce color as we move into the second phase of this picture. All right, we've kind of established the distance. One more thing, we have the clouds like this, and they also will have volume. Light at the top, and shaded. They actually shade themselves. And these clouds will also cast shadows down on the mountaintop. Kind of neat. We become scientists as artists, knowing a little bit about how things are put together, and the wonderful geology of the land becomes a great interest to us as we learn to draw the things that are in nature. All right, these little houses are a bit smaller, they're a bit farther away, and there may be some scattered trees up on this hillside. As we come into painting, we'll be able to add those. All right, now the foreground is going to have the center of interest, which is a little house. Now I've chosen to do a house with a deep slanted roof, and it will have, again, the lost and found edge of similar trees behind it. They will be similar as the ones are back here. But then, towards the front, we will begin to define these trees and begin to draw them more carefully. We're going to research and find out which trees are deciduous and which ones will have all their leaves all the year long. Those are the ones I like to do in pictures like this. So we have a hillside. The erosion line is right in front of us, so we can show pebbles and rocks and maybe even a little stream of water going down. We're going to shade behind the house, and the water itself is going to be pretty still. So we're going to have vertical strokes and horizontal strokes to show the movement. And these strokes of horizontal lines will flow in the line of the composition. In this case, the composition is established on an X, and there is a flow that is kind of like if a leaf were to fall down. You gradually get closer and wider with the horizontal waves, the little ripples that come right up to the shoreline, and then they fold in on the shore. This is the middle area, and it will also have the erosion lines. Again, we want to be constant with the same types of trees. You don't want to introduce too many different things. We have elements of art which involve balance, shape, form, distance, perspective. There's so many different things to learn, but the basic principles of art are very constant. And you may have something that is unusual and different, but generally you have continuity and similarity. You don't want it to be, static and boring, so you do want to introduce contrast. So contrast and similarity, these are words that the artist will know intuitively because they have done so many of these. And the picture itself just kind of talks to you. So as I move this direction with the water, this is a flow here. And it's at that point that this mountain will also reflect into the water. So there will be another possibility of reflected color from this mountain. This, of course, will be the bluer, greener colors, and it will be defined with verticals. Now, the watercolorist will be able to flow and build this wonderful design pattern. One of the important things is to establish the position of the sun. And because we have a reflection coming down, the sun is actually overhead. And as it flows down, there needs to be the same color coming from this area down in through the foreground. And this will move the eye this way. This is the strongest vertical area, and it can be reinforced with the strongest vertical of light. This will be secondary, and we have the horizontals that are easily established with this kind of picture. Again, we don't want it to be static and boring, so the light is going to make all the difference as we move forward in developing this picture. Vantage point, bird's view, a high view. And we'll pick this up next time.